Lila Kimapi Kavi. In reality, in the highest level of the consciousness, in the state of its pure level, or in other words, in the absolute level of the reality, there is no such thing as the ego. That is why, from the absolute standpoint, the ego is illusory. And this ego, at our relative standpoint, transactional level, vyavaharika level, it is very much there. But even then, if we try to understand this ego from the absolute level, then it will do a lot of good to us. And also, if we know the composition of the ego, we have seen from the traditional standpoint few times. But if we look at it from a more day-to-day analytical standpoint, how it has been composed, then we will understand what makes the ego as it is today, and it helps us with this understanding to go beyond the bondage of this ego. So, as we have already understood that the ego in reality is actually not there. There is no such thing called as ego, and it is illusory, and it is made up of compilation of arbitrary points of view. It is a compilation of arbitrary points of view. It is made up of those things. Arbitrary in the sense that not seemingly based on reason or system or plan. Arbitrary means we have to understand the word arbitrary from this standpoint, with this meaning. Not seemingly based on reason, not seemingly based on system, not seemingly based on plan, but seemingly unfair. So, it is made up of compilation of what points of view? Arbitrary points of view. Meaning what? Those points of view which are not seemingly based on reason or fact, meaning or system or plan, and are seemingly unreasonable, unfair. Seemingly unfair points of view. Points of view which are not seemingly based on reason or scheme or plan or system or plan. That is why ego, when it responds, meaning reacts, we see many times, even for a common man also, we see that egoistic reactions miss out the logic. Their calculations are totally different. The ego's calculations are totally different. That is why the most selfish personality, egoistic personality, due to the selfishness, It responds to the world in a peculiar manner, where it looks very unreasonable to everybody around. Even for a common person also. But here with this analytical understanding, we come to conclusion that it is made up of compilation of those points of view which are not seemingly based on reason, system, plan, and they are unfair. So naturally, when the points of view are based on such things, it is made up of such things. Then whatever it does, actually it is not going to give us any spiritual progress, any advancement into the higher levels of peace or happiness or consciousness. Because ego is made up of like that. And not only that, it is made up of compilation of arbitrary points of view. But from where these are supplied? These arbitrary points of view are supplied by mental processing. The mind processes things in such a way that they are unfair, and that is connected with the ego. And these arbitrary points of view are powered by feelings and emotions. Already these points of view are due to mental processing, which is unfair, not based on reason, system, scheme, plan. And in addition to that, they are powered by feelings, powered by emotions. So, these desires, which are connected with the ego, which is made up of things like this, they represent attachments. These desires of the ego, which is structured like this, they represent attachments. And attachments lead us into bondage and give us experience of misery. So, the experience which is bondage and misery lead us into bondage and then experience of misery. It is because these desires represent attachment that will tell us that the ego, by its very structure, is not correct. From the highest standpoint, anyway it is illusory. Even from a transactional standpoint also, if you look at the compilation of it, it is all incorrect. So that is why generally the problem in the world in all relationships is the ego problem. Every ego thinks that alone is correct, justifies itself. Ego always justifies its stance, whatever it might be doing. It need not be right, it might be totally wrong, it need not be ethical, moral, still it justifies. Not only that it justifies, it acts as if it is very confident about its moves. That is why there is a problem with egos. And this ego gains force because of excessive pride in itself, in its activities, in its achievements. We have seen that point already, but here we have to refer it again. It has excessive pride in itself. Whatever it does, activities, whatever it thinks it has achieved in achievements. And this also is additionally joined by the habit. This itself becomes a habit, and there are certain habits. So ego gains force from its excessive pride and then habit. So it is more forceful and powerful. So how to render it powerless? We have to let go of the excessive pride in itself. We have to let go of that vanity. We have to let go of the ego's excessive pride in its thinking, in its thought. When we surrender it or allow it to go, not get identified and involved with it, it may appear, it may create those thoughts. Then we understand at that time, this is excessive pride in this thought, that's why it is reacting like like that, it is thinking like that, it is responding like that, it is commenting like that, it is functioning like that. So once we understand, oh, this is what the ego is, so then we let it go. We don't hold it, we don't identify with it, we don't involve in it, we allow it to pass by. When we allow it to go and when we allow it to pass by, then it loses its power. Why we hold on to this type of thinking? It is because of the secret pleasure, the benefit, the payment that it gives to us. So once we remove that, then the ego cannot survive, cannot stand. It collapses. We will take that secret pleasure away, we will refuse it, and also let go of all these thoughts that the ego presents to us. By withdrawing the excessive pride from it, then the ego cannot stand, it collapses. That is why it is said that ego is a set of entrenched or established habits of thought. Entrenched habits of thought or established habits of thought. It is a set of, there are habits of thought. Repetitively, we are undergoing the habits of thought. They are established. Even though they are not based on reason, fact and whatever it is, but still they are established because of repetitive nature. So, it is a set of these established habits of thought. How should we deal with it? Ego is neither bad nor it is an enemy. It is neither bad nor it is an enemy, but merely an illusion. We have to understand that it is only an illusion and release it from its position. Allow it to collapse. Don't hold on to it. When we release it from its position, allow it to collapse, it will be replaced by something which is far better. Ego doesn't like replacement. Like anybody getting onto the chair that is full of power, powerful chair, moneyful chair. Who will want to leave once they get on it? They will hold on to it. We have seen so many dictatorial kings, even in this century, in various countries, not letting go of the power in spite of people opposing, everybody rejecting, still they hold on to it. Time and again we see this. Not only kings but here political power also. Nobody wants to leave it once. Any power for that matter. The moment a person sits on the chair and starts enjoying the power, the ego getting satisfaction and nice juice out of that power, it will never leave it. Very rarely find the people who know, even when they are in power, that it is the ego which is playing all the mischief. We should allow it to collapse. And they are only not in the clutches, but very rare to find. So what ego does is, it will not allow its replacement with the very conscious awareness. It will not allow. Of course, we know that it is an imaginary doer behind our actions. Because of that, it gains some status, it has power, it has its own position. So it fears dissolution. When somebody practices a technique to dissolve it, like unplugging the pleasure with which the ego's thought is connected and letting it go, understanding that it is an established habit of thought, not identifying with it, all that if we try to do, it will collapse. When anybody tries to pick up a spiritual practice for its dissolution, it will get frightened. Then it will give such a feeling inside that if I become extinct, if I cease to exist, you will also cease to exist. If I am not there, you are not there. Like when there is too much of identification with friends or relatives, people say, if you are not there, I am not there. But they will be there afterwards. So, this gives a feeling that you will not be there. If you try to dissolve me, I am your identity. I am your recognition. I am you. You are I. So if I am not there, you are not there. Then that fear comes. That is why people who go a little bit deeper in the spiritual practice, they get afraid of the deeper experiences because it is the ego which is not allowing. Because it fears dissolution. It creates a wrong thought in the mind that if it dissolves, even the conscious awareness will get dissolved. Then there will be nothing. So naturally, the individual will try to protect it. If you are not there, I am not there, they will protect it. So that is how it plays the games. But when it presents such thoughts, we should take the support of the scriptures which come to our rescue and say the ego is illusory. The ego has no real stand. In absolute reality, the ego is not there. Antahkarana itself is not required for conscious awareness. It is consciously aware by itself. It doesn't need any means, any media to know things. Any medium to know things. So that way, the scripture tells us to allow the ego to go. So, all these pointers which are given, which we have studied yesterday, that Iswara and Jiva relationship through various interpretations. Shankaracharya said like that, Vachaswati Misra said like that, authors of Vivarana, Sankshepa said like that. Various people, various pointers. So all these pointers are only making us go beyond this ego and see behind all this the presence of consciousness at our individual level, at the Jiva level, and as well as at the Brahmanic level, so that with the help of the implied meaning, the Lakshartha, we will arrive at oneness of Jiva and Iswara. That I am not the ego, I am not the one who is bound by this transmigration, going into birth and death. I am totally different from this, and I am the Pratyekatma, I am that consciousness, and that also is consciousness. So both are consciousness and both are one consciousness. To give us this understanding, these Mahavakyas are interpreted from various viewpoints, various angles. So then, in the Sidhantha Bindu, point number 81, Madhusudana Saraswati refers the saying of Sri Shankaracharya and then says, Yaya Bhave Pumso Vyutpatti Pratyagatmani Sasaiva Prakriya Neya Sadvi Sacha Anavasthita iti. Very generously and very validly also. Sureshwaracharya does not say anything just like that, but after thorough analysis based on the scriptures and his experience, of his oneness with the Supreme Consciousness, mentions here that all the different means by which people can attain knowledge of the self, all the different means, all the different interpretations, all the different viewpoints, all the different analysis which says Jiva and Iswara are one. All the different means by which people can attain knowledge of the Atma, of the self, should be understood to be valid. If they are taking us to that one consciousness, realization of that one consciousness and oneness between the individual Jiva and the total Iswara, because both are actually one consciousness, next we have to understand that they are valid. And these means are, see this, unlimited in number, according to this Iswara. Unlimited in number. So, we can accept. But only one point is, they have to take us to that oneness. If that is the main import of these Vakyas, statements, Mahavakyas, great unique statements, then we accept it. Different Acharyas have expressed different views about how a Mahavakya is to be understood. The followers of Sureshwaracharya said that Jahal Lakshana, you have already seen what is Jahal Lakshana, Ajahal Lakshana, Jahal Lakshana in due course of our talks. So the followers of Sureshwaracharya, they say that Jahal Lakshana is to be adopted. The followers of Sarvajnata Muni and Vachaspati Mishra say Jahal, Ajahal Lakshana has to be adopted. And Dharmaraja Advarindra, the author of Vedanta Paribhasha, it is very famous, interprets the Vakya without resort to Lakshana. Without resorting to Lakshana, interprets the Vakya. And yet it takes people to that oneness, understanding that of that oneness. So, even though there might be difference in points of view, how they analyze, as far as the ultimate import of the sentence is concerned, Mahavakya is concerned, all agree that this Mahavakya declares the identity or oneness of Jiva and Iswara. If that is declaring the identity of Jiva and Brahman, then all these viewpoints are accepted. Interpretations are accepted. So all the methods of interpretation are acceptable according to Sri Sureshwaracharya. So that is a very nice thing. That we have various ways of reaching Brahman. Whichever way is suitable to us, we pick up that way. So then, continuing further, from the Sidhantha Sindhu is said, newly arrived knowledge about the truth can be called as Brahma. Newly arrived knowledge about the truth can be called as Brahma. Old knowledge of the object of truth is called as Smriti. Old knowledge of the object of truth is called as Smriti. And knowledge of the refuted object is called as Ayadartha Anubhava. It is not Yadartham, not validly real, Ayadartha, because it is already refuted. And further, Siddhanta Sindhu says, to appear differently at different place is called as Adhyasa, or to appear in that in which it is not is called as Adhyasa. To appear in that which it is not, to appear differently at a different place is called as Adhyasa. Connecting all, now we go into Siddhanta Bindu. We will move from here to there, back and forth. So then, Chaitanya, Siddhanta Bindu here says, Chaitanya alone is not Jiva. We are now referring to the 48th point in Siddhanta Bindu because it is validated. So Chaitanya alone is not Jiva. Because only Chaitanya, how can it be Jiva? It cannot be Jiva. Because it has no doership and various other things. No actions, no dharmas. So, then can only Antahkarana be the Jiva? It also cannot be the Jiva because it is inert and then doership, etc. is not possible in the inert thing. By itself, Antahkarana is inert. So, inert thing, it cannot function. Okay, then only Chidabhasa, only the reflection of consciousness in the Antahkarana, can we treat it as Jiva? That also we cannot. Even Chidabhasa plus Antahkarana also is not Jiva because there is no connection. Without the original, this reflection cannot happen at all. And there is no connection with moksha if there is only Chidabhasa and Antahkarana. Where is that final destination of this understanding? Moksha should be the final destination. Unless and until the Chaitanya is there, the moksha is not there. So, here it is said, Bimba, the source of reflection, is important. Then, the medium of reflection is important. Medium of reflection is Antahkarana. Source of reflection is that Bimba, that original, whatever is the original which is ready to get reflected. And that is why we need a combination of few things. Suppose somebody says Antahkarana plus Chit, can it be Jiva? It also cannot be. Only internal organ plus consciousness, it cannot be. So, what all things combined in a combination become Jiva? Chit must be there, consciousness. Antahkarana has to be there, internal organ. And the Chidabhasa has to be there, the reflection of that consciousness in the internal organ. Chit plus Antahkarana plus Chidabhasa. The consciousness plus internal organ plus reflection of consciousness, three together combined are equal to Jiva. It is very important. And applying the same thing at the totality level, Chaitanya, again consciousness, plus Maya, the power of God, and Chaitanya Pratibhimbam, Chidabhasa, which is Iswara. Chaitanya Pratibhimbam, all three are equal to Iswara. So Chaitanya, Maya, Chaitanya Pratibhimbam, all three put together is equal to Iswara. Chaitanya, in other words, Chitta, plus Antahkarana, which is the byproduct of Maya or Vidya, and the reflection of the Chitta in Antahkarana, Chidabhasa, is equal to Jiva. So this is how we can understand that these things in combination can make at individual level, Vesti level, Jiva, and at the totality level, at the Samasti level, Ishvara. So then if we understand this, then if we remove the Upadis, which is Maya, and here which is Antahkarana, and then if we remove the Iswara there and the Jiva here, then what remains? Chaitanya alone, which is the main basis for both. So that consciousness alone is the basis for all these appearances. And that consciousness is also called as commonly flowing consciousness in Jiva and Iswara. That commonly flowing consciousness has also got this name, Sakshi Chaitanya. Commonly flowing consciousness, the witnessing consciousness. It is the one consciousness which commonly flows. So this understanding is important. There was one person who met the manager in the newspaper office, daily newspaper, and then told him, I want to place an ad in your newspaper regarding my missing son. My son is missing, so I want to place an ad in your newspaper. What is the rate? Please tell me. And that man said, it is rupees 1,000 per square centimeter. This man said, my God, 1,000 per square centimeter, I can't afford it because my son is of 164 centimeters height. I can't spend it. He doesn't understand the language of the newspaper manager. He thinks the whole picture has to be 160 per centimeter. My body calculated. बाप रे 2 लाख के करीब जा रहा है. 1,64,000. Very difficult. So understanding has to be very clear. See, in one hospital, the doctor is talking to a very annoyed husband because he joined the wife and then he is very annoyed. The doctor said, "Don't worry about your wife. I am taking personal care. Don't worry. Very soon she will be discharged. You will have a different woman by the time she is discharged from hospital. You will have another woman, totally a different woman by the time she is discharged from the hospital." Meaning, what doctor wanted to say is, you brought in a deceased wife, a woman, but by the time she is discharged from the hospital, she will be a totally different woman. Presenting that, he said, you will have a different woman by the time she gets discharged from the hospital. And that man says, what if she finds out? He thinks you will have a different woman means he will have a different woman by the time she is out of the hospital. And what if she finds out? Doctor says one thing, patient understands another thing. So, whatever is presented, that understanding is very important. Viewpoints might be different, but if the understanding is very clear that all these viewpoints talk only about the oneness of Jiva and Iswara, and then we can accept them and we can study, analyze and contemplate and then finally arrive at the goal that is indicated by them. Wife asked the husband, when do you like me all the more? And he said, when you go out of the house. Meaning for work, or for any other shopping, or for visiting relatives, or for tour, whatever it is, when you go out of the house. I will like you when you go out. We should be in relationship with ego also like that. We should be ready to like the going out of the ego, which ego doesn't like. Because it doesn't want to get dissolved, it will refuse dissolution. Pranay was in love with Bindu. He wanted to propose to her, but he could not because of the fear. So one day he got a dream, where in dream he proposed. Pranay proposed to Ritu. And then next morning he goes to Ritu and says, I got a dream. What? In the dream I proposed to you. What does it mean? Then she said, it means you will do right thought, right thinking and take up right actions only in dreams. Here, these pointers are not only for keeping them in an imaginary thinking level, but also to bring them into an experiential level. So then coming back to the Sidhantha Sindhu of Ramaraya Kavi, the modifications in the Antahkarana, such as happiness and misery, are only for the abhasa. Abhasa means the reflection of the Chit in the Antahkarana. But the happiness and the misery, which are the modifications in the Antahkarana, they don't affect the Bimba. They don't affect the original. Original source of reflection, they don't affect. Actually, they don't affect. What is happening to reflection will not affect the original. But what is happening here is, between the Bimba and the Pratibimba, between the original source and then the reflection, there happened a mutual superimposition. That is why the Chaitanyam looks not different from Abhasa. Because of the mutual superimposition, the original looks not different from the reflection. And because the original doesn't look different from reflection, the gunas that are there in the Abhasam, the qualities that are there in the Abhasam, appear as if they are in the Chaitanyam, original consciousness. Because of this mutual superimposition, the gunas that are there in reflection or Chidabhasam will appear as if they are in the Chaitanyam. This is superimposing the qualities, dharmas of the reflected entity in the consciousness. The consciousness which is shining because of the superimposition as if it is bound by Abhasa. The original Bimba is now appearing as if it is bound by reflection. Suppose what will happen to the sun in the sky if it appears as if it is bound by reflection? Same thing is happening here also. So that which is bound by this Abhasam is trying for liberation. Meaning appears to be bound from our standpoint. From the highest standpoint there is nothing. We are all discussing this scripture from our standpoint. Because we are in this. So from here, Chaitanyam appears to be bound by Abhasam. So that Chaitanyam which appears to be bound by Abhasam is trying for mukti. That is why in this mukti or in this moksha, there is only bandhanasana, no swarupanasana. The original nature is not destroyed, only the bondage is destroyed. Because the origin of everything is consciousness. The original substratum or nature for everything is consciousness. So here, even when this Bimba Chaitanyam appears to be bound by Abhasa Chaitanyam and trying for liberation, here only bondage is destroyed. Once this is gone, then the Bimba Chaitanya will no more appear to be bound by Pratibimba Chaitanya or Pratibimba. Atma appearing as a samsara is bondage, and Atma appearing as Jnana Rupam or Chit Rupam is liberation. So what we have to understand here, that appearance of that Bimba Chaitanya as bound by Pratibimba, that has to be removed. How can that be removed? That can be removed by valid knowledge only. That valid knowledge is given by Paramatma. One example is given by Ramaraya. Just as the air, which actually has no specific form, when it becomes a whirlwind, it picks up dirt and dust from the surroundings. Don't we see sometimes whirlwind? That air, when it picks up dirt and dust, it assumes a form. It assumes a form. And because it assumes a form, it will affect the passers-by, the drivers of the vehicles here. But if it is in the foreign countries, it will blow away those things. Vehicles also, houses also, everything will be blown away. That powerful. But it picks up all the dirt and dust and consumes the form. But once the dirt and dust go away, get dropped from it, it becomes normal air. Only for the temporary period of time. So similarly, Chaitanya plus Abhasa combined Purusha. Chaitanya plus Abhasa. Because of that combination, that combined Purusha, which appears to be bound, he gets identified with the Chidabhasa. And identified Purusha with Chidabhasa experiences the samsara, the samsaric bondage. Luckily, by stroke of fortune or by grace of the God, blessings of Mahatma, by accidental satsang, gets vairagya and knowledge. After getting the vairagya and the knowledge, the dispassion, detachment and knowledge, gains desire for liberation, becomes a mukshu, and in the end attains identification with the unchanging Atma. That Kutastha Chaitanya. Swami Vidyaranya gives this interpretation. Vidyaranya Swami says, due to mutual superimposition of Abhasa and Chaitanya, a combined Purusha-like entity is accepted here. These are also one of the interpretations. Finally, we arrive here only. An appearance of a combined Purusha-like entity is bound by Chidabhasa, undergoes the samsara, and then tries for liberation because of vairagya and jnana, and then finally gains the red. I was not a real entity. I was a illusory entity, thinking that it is real, undergoing transmigration, getting into birth and death, bound by the samsara, experiencing happiness and misery, and finally gaining vairagya and jnana. Now understanding that the whole story is a crash. That is why it is said, first statement we started with an ego is illusory. There is no such thing as ego. Here also, the combined Purusha, which appears to be there because of the mutual superimposition of Chaitanya and Chidabhasa. That is the fellow who is there here. So, your story, my story, actually is trash. The trash is interested in this ash, which is there. Everything is reduced to ash in this world. So the trash is interested in the ash. In between, because of reactions, it will get trash and will become trash. And because of too much of identification given, it will end up in crash. And in the process, smash others, dash against people. And receive sometimes the Papa Karma Phala lash and some splash of knowledge, it will overcome all this and understand I am not a trash. I am that person. So this is our story. The very entity is not real. It is only an appearance. It is an illusory appearance. And the whole story, lifetimes that it undergoes. That's all. All that we need to know is this ego, this appearance of the combined Purusha, like according to Vidyaranya Swami. We have to, what we have to dissolve, what we have to allow to dissolve, an appearance, which is illusory. We have to allow to dissolve. Once we know that it is an appearance, with this, in this light of knowledge, then the bondage, the samskara is connected with it, the karma is connected with it, the vasana is connected with it, all the many experiences are connected with it. That time it happened like that, this time it happened like this, not happened, needed, all that. Which looks so real. Yes, from this standpoint it looks so real. Then continuing further, Ramaraya continues to explain to us in various ways. Chaitanyam Yadavishtanam Linga Dehascha Punaha Chit Vidyadhara Swami, what he said about Jiva. Chaitanyam yadadhishkanam linga dehascha yah punaha chichaya linga dehastha tatsango jiva uchyate. Who is the Jiva here as per Vidyadhara? Consciousness plus intellect plus reflection in it is equal to Jiva. Lingas, Deha here means subtle body, Sukshma Sharira. Here in this reference, in this context, meaning is Sukshma Sharira, meaning internal organ, Antahkarana, meaning here intellect. So consciousness plus intellect plus reflection in it is equal to Jiva. So this is the fellow. When can consciousness be conjoined with reflection? Never it will happen. How can Bimba be joined with reflection? Only in superimposition it will happen. And reality it will not happen. So that is why it is Jiva. That is our reality. Chaitanya Sahita Chidabhasa is eligible for moksha. Chaitanya Sahita Chidabhasa. The reflection which is along with the consciousness, which is supported by consciousness, to whom the substratum is consciousness. So, in another way, this is presented. Reflection that has got a upadhi, which is Antahkarana. Reflection means the Chidabhasa, which has got an upadhi, and Adhisthana. How nice it is. Same thing in a different way it is presented. Reflection, which has got an upadhi, limiting action. That is how it is appearing only, otherwise reflection cannot happen without a limiting agent. Reflection that has got a limiting agent and substratum, Adhisthana. Reflection, Chidabhasam, which has got an upadhi and Adhisthana is equal to Jiva. How nice it is. So, as Jiva, we are reflection which has got an upadhi, intellect, and Adhisthana. Without substratum, neither intellect can function or reflection can sustain. So that substratum is necessary, that Adhisthana is necessary for it. So that is called as Jiva. Consciousness does not get reflected in Kevala Ajnana according to Vivaranakara. Another way of interpreting it. The author of Vivarana says consciousness does not get reflected in Kevala Ajnana. It needs to have internal organ, meaning limiting agent, and it needs to have Antahkarana and Samsaras of desire. As Sureshwara already said, various interpretations are valid if they are taking us to that oneness of Jiva and Iswara. So, here the Vivarana author of Vivarana says, Kevala Ajnana, consciousness does not get reflected. It needs internal organ along with Samskaras. The example that Ramaraya cites to support it is only glass will not give reflection. It has to have a silvery backing and a cardboard or frame support. Is it better? Only glass will not give. It needs to have a silvery behind and then that support. Then only it will reflect. Better which we use. So, like that, here it is said, that is how there is the appearance of the Jiva here. So, it needs the samskaras are there, Jiva is got samskaras, and the internal organ is there, and the consciousness is there, So, again getting further, it is said in Sidhantha Sindhu, this Bimba and Pratibimba are only upadhis, even there also. When we say that original also, we are saying with reference to some upadhi there. So then, if we remove the ajnanam, which is the upadhi there, Maya, and here buddhi, intellect, if we remove both of them, there will be only Chaitanya at both the places. There also, here also, only Chaitanya. So, we have to drop ajnanam, we have to drop buddhi, and then what remains there is Kevala Chaitanya. So that is why this analysis is being taken here. Yeah, one more example here. Ramaraya provides is the Ajnanam covering the pot. There is a pot, there is an object. That object, we don't know that object because there is a covering of Ajnana. So we have to know that object. How that object can be known by us? There has to be a vritti in the Antahkarana, a thought in the mind, and then this mind has to go out and then touch that object and come back after taking the shape of that object, and then this vritti that is there in the Antahkarana, when both these things meet, then there will be rise of the Jnana, knowledge. So, through Ghatakara Antahkarana vritti, the ignorance goes away. Because ignorance that is covering the pot, because of which the pot has not manifested, and we don't know that the pot exists, we cannot say that this pot exists. So because of that we do, because of the Antahkarana vritti, and then we will gain that knowledge. And then connecting it with Brahman, because there is Ajnana, Avarana around Brahman, because this Ajnana has superimposed itself on Brahman, and it has created a covering, and that covering can be removed by Brahmakara Antahkarana vritti. With that Brahmakara Antahkarana vritti, that Ajnana goes, and then there will be pratyaksham, like the pot, there will be pratyaksham of the Iswara. Boss said to Kirti, "Why are you late today? I already told you that there is an important meeting and you have to be on time. Why are you late to the office? 2 hours late." Kirti said, "What to do, sir? As I started walking towards the office, because doctor told me walking is good for health, so I started walking towards the office, and one mischievous boy started following me. If that mischievous boy is following you, you should have walked faster." Then Kirti said, "What can I do, sir? He was walking slowly." So who is behind whom we don't know. It looks as if the girl is in front and the boy is behind. But he is walking slowly, she is also walking slowly. Don't disturb each other. So, in this state of ignorance, we don't know how many types of superimpositions they have created. So we need to dissolve them with the help of the knowledge. Otherwise we will have all the dharmas of Antahkarana attached to us and we think that we have all of them. Rohit was talking to his friend Param. Rohit said, "I don't want to get married because I am afraid of all women. I am afraid of all women." And then Param said, "You must get married, Rohit. You should get married. This way, marriage will at least confine you to the fears of only one woman. Afterwards, you will be afraid of only one woman, not a partner." When we start this analysis, the whole world which looks so real, when we start this analysis and we have so much of fear, then we will come down finally to the fear of ego, where it will be afraid of dissolution. And once we tackle that also, we will go beyond. So we need to put forth this analysis very nicely. It seems there was a producer who was conducting interviews for selecting a hero for his next movie. The candidates lined up, and in his interview he was asking one candidate, "All credentials, everything is good, but are you married?" He said, "No." Then I am sorry. "But why? If I am not married, why can't you take me?" He said, "Simple. This movie especially needs so many expressions, and I may get angry, I may get irritated if these are not brought out. So, I want an obedient person. According to me, married people are used to being obedient. So that is why it is safe. Otherwise, I take an inexperienced fellow and you get angry and then leave the movie in between, it will be in losses. Like sometimes certain young heroes and heroines will become so angry and then they will drop out of the project and it will cause so much of losses. So then coming back to our analysis in the Sidhantha Sindhu of Ramaraya. Consciousness joined with Maya is Iswara. Consciousness which is inside this Maya as a substratum for this Maya, because of which the Ajnana also can survive, Maya also can function, is Brahman. So consciousness joined with internal organ is Jiva. And consciousness inside the internal organ as a substratum for internal organ, because of whom the internal organ can function, is again the unchanging consciousness. So that which supports the internal organ, byproduct of Maya and Maya, that which is substratum for both, is again the consciousness. That is the Kutastha Chaitanya. This is Ramaraya Kavi citing from Vedanta Paribhasha. And this is what Vedanta Paribhasha says. So this also is valid, because Shankaracharya already said that. So what we have to understand here, the substratum for the Maya also, support for the internal organ also, is one consciousness. That is unchanging. When that is unchanging, what is reflected in it is changing. And because of superimposition, what is original appears to be original also, because the combination looks to be affected by this changing. So that is why once this understanding is clear, we will focus more on Kutastha Chaitanya rather than on these other things. When we gain that experience that I am Brahman, that Anubhava Rupa Vritti here is called as Vidya, which is also called as Atman. The experiential mental vritti which says I am Brahman is called as Vidya or Atman. Not mere intellectual but experiential. So this intellectual will take us into experiential finally. But then Ramaraya Kavi concludes this analysis in this portion, stating that Iswara and Jiva duality is Nitya. We need not worry about various interpretations about Jiva and Iswara, because our main purpose is to know about Brahman. Hence, we have to think about Brahman and we have to take the help of Pramana, because the main purpose of the Pramana is to make known what is not known. So, what is not known to us right now is the original nature of Brahmic consciousness. So, with the help of this Mahavakyas, with the help of this various analysis, Pramana and all, we will gain that beautiful knowledge. So he started shouting, "Call me doctor, call me doctor." Call me doctor, his friend came rushing in and said, "What happened? You were sick or what happened? Any attack? What happened?" "No, just yesterday I graduated from medical college. So call me doctor, call me doctor." So he is identified so much with it that he wants others to call him doctor. But sometimes if it is not clearly presented, it will lead to misunderstanding with others. The teacher asked the student, what is it when I say, I love you, you love me, he loves you? He was talking about some grammar. I love you, you love me, he loves you. What is it when I say, I love you, you love me, he loves you? The student got up and said, "Oh, this is one of those triangle love stories in which one is shot dead." I don't know which one. So this boy might have seen so many movies like that. Instead of thinking about grammar, he is thinking about this. And Islam. So our thoughts need to be guided by the true knowledge. So this true knowledge they are giving, so that we will gain the true knowledge. In the light of the true knowledge, we will start thinking about understanding the truth of what we see around. Once a case came up before the judge. The husband applied for divorce and the judge asked the reason. She started throwing things at me since our marriage, 20 years. She started throwing things at me. That is why I want to apply for divorce. The judge asked her, since 20 years she is throwing things at you and you are applying for divorce now? And he says, now the aim is getting better. Now the aim is getting better. Earlier the aim was not getting better. I am being hit by so many things. So similarly we are being hit by so many experiences as a Jiva. So at least because of one hit we have to go in the right direction. Wherein with the help of knowledge we can divorce ourselves from the attachment with these hits. That is what we can try. Now Ramaraya Kavi in Vedanta Nishchaya says Dehada Aramyatas Chaitad Dehada Aramyatas Chaitad because the Jiva thinks of himself to be one with the body, because the Jiva thinks himself to be one with the body, he experiences Jayate, Mriyate, Avijja. He experiences death and birth. Because he thinks himself to be one with the body, he experiences birth and death. Actually, birth and death belong to the body. Because he is unable to see the difference between himself and the body. Because he thinks body is himself. So he is experiencing the properties of body as belonging to himself. Computer has birth and death. We don't know when it will suddenly go out of order, when it will crash. So computer has birth and death, but not the current that elements in it. Body might have birth and death, not the Chaitanya which elements in it. Pot might have birth and death, but not the space that is there in it. So, birth and death belong to the body and not to the real Chaitanya which is there in it. Pratyagama Chaitanya, which is called as Pratyaka, inside, its power only is moving the Antahkarana, which is also called as Jiva, because of the moving power. Actually, these things belong to the body, and experiences are in the Antahkarana, happiness is within it, birth and death belong to the body, nothing belongs to the consciousness. Due to the identification with the body, one gets into delusion of death. So that is clear. So what we have to do to get out of the delusion of birth and death? We have to decide into the body and then understand that we are the consciousness which is inside the body, which will not die. When the pot dies, when the computer dies, current will not die. When the pot dies, space will not die. But similarly, when the body dies, the consciousness will not die. And Bhogaya Karma Gurute, Bhumte Kartam Kutimtara. And while living, what this Jiva will do? For the sake of experiences, happy experiences, for the sake of fruits, for the sake of results, which are happy experiences, he will undertake karmas. Because he undertakes karmas, he will get phalas. And because he gets phalas, that similar impressions in the form of karmas, again, which are also called as samskaras or whatever it is, they are formed. And because of them, he will again get the force to do karmas. And because he will get again forced to do karmas mentally, he will again do karmas. Again for the sake of experiences, which are the results. Again he will be left with more karmas. Again he will do more karmas. Again experience results of karma. Results of karmas, more karmas, and again expecting result he will do karma. Again karma. He will be caught in that network because of deha abhimana. He will become responsible for the deeds of the body and then performs the karmas for the sake of fruits. To experience those fruits, he has to do karmas again. He is caught in that network. That is how he is going and coming, going and coming, going and coming. And after coming also is caught. What we have to do? We have to get out of that bondage by understanding that we are different from the body. We are not the doer, we are not the enjoyer. Kartrutva, bhakrutva and the dharmas of Antahkarana. It is the ego which controls all of them. I am the illuminator of these things. I am totally different from and other than this internal organ and the external body. I am one who is that pure consciousness. Asyeyam samsruti pratyaga. Asyeyam samsruti pratyaga. Ramaraya Kavi is Vedanta Nishchaya says the samsara of Antahkarana, which is actually the Jiva samsara, Jiva is nothing but Chidatmanandha. The samsara of the Antahkarana is superimposed in the Pratyagatma, the innermost self. Samsara is belongs to Antahkarana. One of the components of Antahkarana is ego, and the one who is reflected in the intellect, mind, memory, ego is the so-called Chidabhasa with Jiva. So the samsara that belongs to Antahkarana, internal organ, is superimposed in the Pratyagatma, innermost self. Who does that? You only do that. The cost of this is ignorance. Because of ignorance, we superimpose this. And for this here, we use an example. There is a pot which is of black color or a darkish bluish color. So for the time being, black color. Pot which is of black color. So, in the pot there is space. Because of the color of the pot being black, one thinks that the color of the space also, void also is black. Possible. Actually, does the void has color? Space has no color. But here, because of that blackness of the pot, it is attributed to the space as black in color. Similarly, on the pure Pratyagatma who is inside, like space in the pot, Pratyagatma, the Antahkarana dharmas, Sukham and Dukkham, are superimposed. Such a superimposition is happening here. Actually, they don't belong to, but they are superimposed. Because of this superimposition, there is appearance of seemingly connection for the Pratyagatma with the bondage. And it looks as if it is identified with that Jiva and he is undergoing because of the combination of that. That will be eradicated by the knowledge, by the pure knowledge. That is why here Ramaraya says, One is called as Paramatma Jiva. Paramatma Jiva is Pratyagatma, the innermost self, and that is the Adhisthana of the gross body and subtle body. That because of whom the gross body sustains, subtle body sustains, who is the Adhisthana and who is the Pratyagatma, that is Paramatma Jiva. And then another one is Vyavaharika Jiva, transactional Jiva. Paramatma is absolute. So then, this one is reflection in internal organ. One is reflection in the internal organ is Vyavaharika Jiva. And he is having the abhimana of the ahamkara which says I. And this abhimana, because of the abhimana, Jiva says I and mine. I am having this, I am having that. That belongs to me. And that. And then the third one is Pratibhasika Jiva. He experiences Antahkarana, Vasana Rupa Vishwa in the dream. Pratibhasika Jiva is in the dream. He experiences the internal organs, Vasanas, which create the world there, and he undergoes that. And he is Swapna Dehadhimana, and all of them, how they are there, just being used as a nice comparison. One is like a lake, another one is like a wave, and another one is like a bubble. Bubble is Pratibhasika Jiva, wave is Vyavaharika Jiva, lake is Paramatma Jiva. In the lake, from the standpoint of the lake, wave is momentary, bubble is even more momentary. And what is stationary from the standpoint of that lake in comparison with the bubble and wave lake is an example for us to understand. So that is very important. So we need to know that even though we are undergoing so much and then we are identified with so many things, we need to know that we are different from this. That is why it is said in Sarva Vedanta Sidhantha Sara Sangraha by Adi Shankara, Naham Stulo Navi Sushmo Nadego Naham Stulo Navi Sushmo Nadego Naham Balo No Yuvana Vivruddha Naham Balo No Yuvana Vivruddha Naham Kano Navimuko Nashanda Naham Kano Navimuko Nashanda Sakshi Nitya Pratyageva Amasmi Sakshi Nitya Pratyageva Amasmi Pratyageva Amasmi Pratyageva Amasmi Naham Stulo, I am not of the gross form. Naham Stulo, all the bondage is because of identity with the gross form. Naham Stulo, Napi Sushmo Nadego. I am not in the subtle body, I am not of the subtle form. Then Nadego, I am neither tall nor short, both are included there. Because of my identity with the gross, neither tall or short. Why I am short, why I am so tall? Naham Stulo, Napi Sushmo Nadego, Naham Balo, No closely connected with these things. None of these things. Then what I am? Sakshi Nityaha Pratyagevahasmi. I am the inner Atman, Pratyag. I am always the inner Atman who is the eternal witness of all. I am the eternal witness of all. I witness everything. Whatever happens to gross body, subtle body, components of gross body, subtle body, contents of gross body, subtle body, parts of gross body, subtle body, relationship of gross body, subtle body, with the world and objects, whatever things which are happening, situations are there, experiences are there, so many kinds of things are there, whatever might be happening, I am the eternal witness of all. Sakshi Nitya Pratyagevahasmi. I am untouchable. Whether the world remains or not, objects remain or not, relationships remain or not, gross body remains or not, subtle body is stable or not, whatever might be the contents which are good or bad, whatever might be happening, I am no untouchable. Because Sakshi Nitya Pratyagevahasmi. Finally, through all the Mahavakyas, we will reach this state where we will remain not only intellectually knowledgeable as Sakshi, but experientially we will know that we are that Sakshi Nitya Pratyagevahasmi. All this we are doing as earlier introduction to first sloka for 1 week. After that, since past few days, we are seeing only the first sloka of the Dasa Sloki. So, please look into that first sloka once and remember it, so that we will know where this analysis is connected. Om Vagishwaraya Vidmahe Hayagrivaya Dhimahi Tanno Hayagriva Prachodayat. Om Akshareswaraya Vidmahe Mantrarajaya Dhimahi Tanno Hayagriva Prachodayat. Hayagriva, Hayagriva, Hayagriva. Om Hamsasoham Vishwadena Rupaya Chinmayananda Rupine Tukyam Namo Hayagriva Vidyarajaya Vishnave Swaha. Hamsasoham Om Shri Aum. Om Namo Bhagavate Hayagrivaya Vishnave Mahyam Meham Prajnam Prayachha Swaha. Hayagriva Mangalam Hayagriva Mangalam Vishnave Mangalam Vishnave Mangalam Vidyaraja Mangalam Vidyaraja Mangalam Vishnave Mangalam Vishnave Mangalam Hayavadana Mangalam Hayavadana Mangalam Vishnave Mangalam Vishnave Mangalam Hayagriva Mangalam Hayagriva Mangalam Hayagriva Mangalam Hayagriva Mangalam
Iswara